Hi, welcome to Eye Openers. I'm your host, Brittany Drozd, and each week I bring you insightful conversations with entrepreneurs that will help you make more money, become a strong leader, and build a business culture that you're proud of. Grab your coffee and let's dive in. Hi, and welcome to Eye Openers. Thank you guys so much for joining us because, like I always say, if there was no audience, it would just be me talking to myself, which is still a show I might do anyway, but it is so much better to have you guys here as an audience checking in and hopefully gaining the insightful, eye-opening moments that change the way that you show up in your life and your business. That's what makes such a difference to me, which is why I scout out the perfect guests for us to see how other people are taking this new mindset when they look at how am I shaping my life? How am I creating a business to support my life and not the other way around? And today I have not only a colleague in the entrepreneurial space, but a dear friend, Robyn Ivy, joining me today. Hi, Robyn.
Hi, Brittany. How's it going?
Good. I'm so excited to have you here. You guys, this woman is not only a total powerhouse, badass, tell you exactly like it is. Everybody needs one of those in their life. But she has also been with me in some of the most significant moments of my life as my photography partner for a long time. We're going to hear today, though, how she has taken her view from behind the lens and now shifted it into a much more, I guess, even intimate way to work with people that creates a big impact for them. So I can't wait to share that story with you guys. But first and foremost, you know how we kick things off here. It is always with, what are you drinking? Now, to be fair, it is the afternoon here for me at the time of this recording. And you guys know I have a hard and fast rule that I cut off caffeine at 12 p.m. So I have my right here because water fuels me through so much. I always have a glass of water too before I start with coffee. But Robyn, what is in your cup today?
Right now in my cup, there's almost a steady stream of caffeine in my cup always. Right now I've got yerba mate in my cup.
Yep. Fantastic. And you have a special mug for those of us who have like audio or visual.
Little owl mug.
Owls.
Yep.
And owls are insightful, right? We like see them as these wise creatures, right? So I think that was meant to be that you brought your owl mug today.
Right. My favorite.
As a creature yourself. Yeah. So give us a bit of background here on who you are give us those 5 bullet points on who you are as a person, which is like kind of a big task because I'm sure that there are more than 5. But just for us to get a feel for how you're showing up at this space, and we'll kick off from there.
It's funny because I was just thinking the other day about interesting ways to introduce myself, or like things that would be true to say about myself, and I realized it started to sound like a joke, like if a coach and an artist and a pastor walked into a bar, kind of thing. But what's true about me is I spent 25 years as a commercial photographer. Before that, I was a punk rock kid, which just means that I was looking at life through a different outlier lens. I am an artist. I am a coach. I am an intuitive. And I was a trained intuitive as a kid. I went through a metaphysical apprenticeship when I was a kid. And I've worked with chimpanzees. So we put that all together. And that's why I think I talk a lot about perspective and coming at people from a lot of different angles.
I love that.
Yeah.
Those are a lot of things. I'm trying to gather all the things in my head. But maybe it's fair to start off with, I want to go through all those pieces of your evolution. But when you and I first met, you were doing commercial photography. Sure. And I had just started my business and I needed photos. And there's something that was so unique. I think the first time we did photos was at my house. And I can't even keep track of all of it.
I don't know anymore. It was so many times.
I literally have a file of all my old marketing stuff, almost to just remind myself of how far I've come.
Yeah.
Bad marketing.
This is also on the days you're having chubby days or bad days. And you're like, I look good. Look at my folder of how great I'm doing.
Well, we'll get into those pictures later. But I'll never forget, it was my first time kind of having professional pictures. And I think it was almost like imposter syndrome for me.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking who am I trying to be? I don't know. I just need to prove to myself that I'm professional. So I need these pictures or whatever. And you had such a way of like showing up and not making me feel like bad or less than that's where like I was starting. That's the place I was starting from. And also like pulling me through to the other side and showing me like I could be that person.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think the word doula is often kind of overused in the business space now. But I think what's true is back then when that was the focus of my career, my job was to really, it's the reason the transition to coaching was really not that weird or difficult was because to stand in presence with someone in an intimate setting where they desperately need to be seen and heard and comfortable and understood and have it be safe enough to be vulnerable and for them to really fully show up. To take pictures of you being like a hot mess, anxious and crawling out of your skin isn't really great promotional material for anybody. So much of that work was about coaching the person into being comfortable standing there in the presence of themselves, saying, yeah, I'm about to do this new thing or this thing in a new way. And that feels terribly uncomfortable, but I get to stand here and self-coach and remind myself of exactly why I'm qualified. Why do I want to do this? Why am I investing in this shoot? And the shoot could be coaching. I fill in the blank. Like, why am I investing in this moment in myself if I don't actually really believe in myself? So it's really a matter of kind of like standing present with people while they did this inner discomfortable dance of how to show up for themselves, really.
Right.
Yeah.
That is, I love how you put that because that's exactly like how it feels. Like you're
so uncomfortable,
right? Yeah.
Oh my God. I trust no one who's like super crazy comfortable having their photo taken. No, it's so confrontational.
It's so confrontational.
Especially if you're starting a business and you feel already like, am I good enough at this? Am I a fraud? Can I really pull this off? Do I look professional enough? Are people going to believe that I'm qualified because I might be new at running this as a business, but I'm not new at the skill set involved. But that kind of disconnect makes people feel so worried that they're going to show up in the world like an imposter. And that makes all of us act super weird.
Yeah. So
it's not good on camera.
Good point. Not good on camera. A second ago, you said that the word doula is overused. Not on this podcast.
Wow, right. That's probably fair. Yeah.
So can you describe like what did you mean by that when you use that word? When I was describing like how do you pull people through, right? And
yeah, so like if you hire a doula, if you're a woman who's going to have a baby, you have the opportunity. Well, if you're lucky enough, fortunate, privileged enough, you may choose to hire a doula, which is really like another woman who will help guide you through the process of your own birthing journey. And they tend to, they've like sit on the side of plenty of other women, helping them through that experience. And so they help make the unknown less unknown. And they're a strong presence and they're kind of on your side and they're there to take a stand for you. And they get you through kind of like a coach, like an NFL coach, really. It's not that different. It's just they get you through all the way down the field.
Yes. Yeah.
Or all the way through the photo shoot, all the way through the coaching session. Oh, yeah.
Right. And so I really loved how you highlighted, like, actually in those moments with your camera, it's an edgy opportunity, right? Like that's always what I'm looking for in my coaching practice. Where's the edge of your comfort zone? That's where your growth lies.
That's right. Otherwise you're just, what's the point?
What's the point? That's right.
Yeah.
So in those moments when you notice people are uncomfortable, but this is actually a big opportunity for them, how would you show up? Like, what are some key things that you recognize were really impactful in seeing people in that moment and then getting through?
Well, I'll tell you a funny story because I don't think this is exactly the same. The other night I went to this dinner party, this like community dinner, and there was a woman in her like probably early 70s sitting next to me. And we had all made dinner together and then they brought it out and presented it like a family supper. So there was it wasn't done by etiquette or by any kind of manner rules. It was like all the food came out and we all just started grabbing and handing and dishing out and whatever. And this woman like slowly started to say things like under her breath, like the food is coming out so fast. They're not passing it from the right direction. Ooh, I just put my crab cakes on my plate, but now I don't have a salad plate because I put my salad on my dinner plate. It's like, this isn't how it's supposed to go. This is too quick. I don't even eat like this at home. This isn't the way, like, right? And she was starting to unravel. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I sat there with this woman in presence and just coached her off the ledge of like all this happening in ways that weren't within her rules and whatever. And I think we're just there to be in presence with people, to like show up with them, hold the space for them, ask them to meet themselves at the edge of the thing because that's what they themselves are wanting, right? You're only there for the photo shoot because you want to promote this thing. You're only here in this coaching container because you actually want to change. You're not here just for fun. Like you're here because you want to make something be different. And it's my work to support you, to believe you, and to be like, okay, well then when you get scared, when the part of you that's really scared and thinks maybe she doesn't want this or he doesn't want this, my job to stand here and remind you that the other parts of you do. And you got that. Just like, you can, yes, we've broken the rules and we don't have a plate for the salad now. And we don't have the special fork because it did in fact fall on the floor, but we're still okay. And we can still enjoy this meal.
That's right. That's right. So moving and adapting with it. And so I'm sure you see that a lot with the people you work with, right? So now you have transitioned into the space of working with people more fully as a coach. Mm-hmm. Where did you, at what point did that kind of come through for you? Like, I'm already doing some of this, or like, how can I help people more? Like what happened for you? Because I know you had a lot of success as a commercial photographer.
It actually really happened in 2008 when the first recession hit, because in that moment, a lot of people were really pivoting in their careers and they were coming to me. So let's say you were like a mid-level manager somewhere, and then all of a sudden you were laid off. And now you thought, you know what? This is my chance. I've always said I'm going to write the book about nutrition. I've been a triathlete for years. Like I'm going in on this thing. I'm bringing my side hustle to the forefront, or taking this skill set and go out on my own. Well, that all sounds great. And you truly have the confidence. You have everything you need to do it, but you've never really lived in the identity as a person who does that for a living or as a profession. So when you come to get the photographs of yourself as this professional author about health, or the professional health coach, or fill in the blank, you've never really lived that person's experience. You're totally capable, but you don't have the lived experience. And so I found, to do my job as the photographer, to capture you as this expert you actually are, I had to first coach people into the truth of that, because in the moment they were about to get photographed, they were like, form of housewife, form of laid off C-level manager, like form of like attorney that just like they're just flip out into these old identities. And I went, oh gosh, these pictures are going to be terrible. I can't do my job while you stand there in a complete fear response to having an identity crisis in front of the camera. So I started coaching people right then and there so that I could selfishly, so I could get the photo of them that they needed from me. And then I started doing that all the time. And it was so enjoyable that I went, all right, well, this is just I just started to offer sessions after that. And then it was like combo packages. And then I was like, forget it. Let's just hang out for 6 months and do this and change your life. So
amazing.
Yeah.
But this happened later than 2008.
Which part? Well, both. And I was really kind of running parallel courses. I was coaching sort of secretly. I was coaching somewhat secretly on the side because I just didn't want to mess around with my business. And then the year before the pandemic, I went all in on a studio up in Providence and was doing coaching and photography out of the same space. It's kind of like a pivot space. And then when everything went to, hell in a handbasket in the pandemic, I just was like full on in the coaching.
Yeah. Like this is your second opportunity.
Yeah.
Did anything happen just the disruption of COVID created that, or was there a mindset shift, or was there like some kind of eye-opening moment?
Well, I had already been I had intentionally set up, I had like the first 3-year plan of my ADHD life by when I committed to that studio. I was like, all right, 3 years, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do commercial shoots in here, but I'm also going to coach in here. And I'm going to start to have events. Like you came to some of the events that we hosted there. I mean, dinner parties and just amazing, interesting stuff. So the goal was to just keep eking towards more coaching work. And so by the time I made the choice to give up the studio in the pandemic, I was already leaning more anyway into the coaching. And so there was nothing commercially to shoot until it was time to take like all of the pictures of people wearing the masks and doing all of the sort of compliance photography. There was no commercial photography for a while. Yeah.
No, that's so interesting how that, what is initially like an oh shit, like firestorm moment becomes an opportunity when we breathe it into it. I mean, if
yeah. And yeah. And as soon as I saw the photographs, as soon as I saw the masks as soon as I saw us needing to market like mask wear on everything, I knew I had taken my foot far enough out of the commercial photography space that I was way more in on the coaching, because I saw the opportunity. I was like, here's compliance imagery now. Now I could go out and shoot endless amounts of everybody doing the right thing, wearing the masks and in the right gear and being a safe place to do all the things. And I was like, I can't do it. I had coached myself too far into the identity of my coaching work. So yeah.
Great. So I think it's really tough for people because the older we get, the more we have these like identities that we really have a tight grip on. Like, no, this is who I am. And if this gets changed, like, I don't even know who I would be. And I know that myself and my spouse and I went through a lot of that when we moved out of Rhode Island, where we had been for 15 years. And it really forced us to look at a lot of these different components of identity and what was serving us and what wasn't. So especially when you move down and, career track, find success, it can be really challenging to pivot that. And
it's not kind of challenging. It's hell. It's not like kind of challenging. It's horrendous. I mean, it's an initiation of yourself if you're willing to take that on. But it's crazy making. Yeah. And it's the best thing you can ever do for yourself.
Say more about that.
I mean, I have a rule for myself and with my coaching clients that, like, no matter what is happening, you've got to be able to give yourself 3 different perspectives. And this comes from forever. This comes from being a photographer since I was like 12 years old. If I was hired to photograph this mug of my yerba mate, right, the client would expect to see, I mean, countless images from countless perspectives of this mug to execute on whatever the goal of the shoot was.
Right.
So I could never say, "Oh, I'm sorry, there was only one way to shoot it." Because that's insane. That's right. There's no way that there's one way to shoot this. I could shoot it from the front. I could go on the top. I could look at the side. I could get underneath.
Yeah.
It's just arguably there's a million ways to come at that thing. And knowing that is a truth. When there's an obstacle in your identity, the responsibility is to give yourself 3 options. Because if you're committed to one, then you're just right? Then you're just in your righteous indignation of like, I'm stuck or I'm right. Either way, you're kind of screwed. The second one is if it's this or that. And now you're in a duality. Now you're in a tug of war. Now you're in a this or that. That's not helpful. You're right or wrong. But the minute you give yourself a 3rd perspective, the minute you force yourself to cross the threshold into 3, now you're back into possibility, because it's like, well, it could be, well, maybe it's this, or it might be that, or it could also be this. You know what? I could consider this thing or that thing or that thing. All of a sudden, you have this spaciousness to start to look at things for a little bit differently and reclaim some agency and find some possibility and problem solve from, like, your creativity has some room in the building again to be like, wait a minute. Here's where my good thinking can come back in. Oh, that's right. It doesn't have to only be this way. Oh, that's right. I have a flexible mindset that I can put on this and move the needle.
Can you give us an example of how you've used this with some of your coaching clients recently? Like this broadening of their perspectives and how it's served?
Think of any time they say, oh, I don't think I could. Oh, I don't know if I could do that. Oh, I couldn't possibly move to Santa Barbara. Let's take when you first wanted to move to Santa Barbara. Oh, Brittany, because we live in a small place, this Rhode Island, right? So I know that plenty of people said to you, oh, Brittany, that's a cute idea, honey. That's cute. That's cute. But we're in Rhode Island. That's far. So, no. And you've already made such a name for yourself here. And people already know you here, right? And all of the things. And if you were to start to believe that, oh, I can't move because it's too far. I've already built up I already have a reputation for what I do here. People already know me. I couldn't
Yeah.
possibly, it'd be too late for me to start over. My career would be ruined if I started over. Well, my husband's already been here for a long time in his job. Well, the kids already have friends because they're 5. So they, like they've made a lot of lifelong friends in these 5 years
Right.
to hold on to. We can't possibly disrupt those pivotal friendships in my children's life.
Yeah.
Those are places I say like, okay, find me 3 ways that's argue it from the opposite perspective in 3 ways that could be different.
Right. Okay, cool. So that's a really great tool people can use themselves. So if they find them, so if let's say, right, hypothetically, if somebody finds themselves feeling like something feels impossible, then you use that framework with them. Tell me 3 ways, you argue it the other way.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be like a fun way. It doesn't have to be like, okay, like, let's say you want to leave your job. You're really miserable at work, but you're the sole breadwinner. So you're like, I can't leave my job. I'm the sole breadwinner. Like I've got kids at home and I'm the provider. I mean, I was a single mom for 20 years. Like I get this. This is very real. I can't pivot into coaching. I'm the sole provider. Okay. So what happens when I believe that? Well, I'm just kind of stuck.
Right.
If that's true, then what? Well, then I might as well sit down and just commit to that death slowly. Or I could say, okay, well, I could do this part-time or this part-time. Okay, well, what's something else? Like, what's a third way to think about it? Oh, I could do my photography during the day and I could coach in the evening. Oh, then I could start to split my time. Then I could start to eke my hours more into coaching. I could start to fill my calendar with the same hours, but supplement coaching for headshot clients, right? I call this changing places with yourself in the canoe because if you've ever tried to do that when you're canoeing, it is quite challenging, but also really satisfying when you do it. But it takes a certain kind of grace and a certain kind of willingness to like go slowly, find some balance, ask for support if you need it. Don't go too fast, no sudden action.
Yes.
And commit to the action. Like you can't half-ass that. If you're moving, you better go.
I love these ideas. And we're going to make sure that this gets like written down into the show notes as like a takeaway for people, because even just those suggestions, like go slowly, like, ask for help if you need it. These are things that we kind of all like know, but we don't, when we're in the place of actual needing it, we forget it. We don't.
Or where do you go as a grown up and say, hey, Brittany, I just feel like I'm not doing that great with asking for help and finding my balance and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, unless you're a coach or you're in this kind of space and you're having those conversations with people, most people aren't saying that to their trusted loved ones. So we're not acknowledging the need we have, and then we're not giving other people the chance to help meet that need.
Even if you are in the helping profession, like let me tell you about the whole slew of people that I hire to help me with this too.
Yeah.
I think that's like so important to own.
It takes a village.
And there's this component of like, it's very hard to do yourself, even if you're an expert at it. There is like this accountability, this like reflective component of having somebody else in the room to mirror that is really the work, which is incredible.
And it's why knowing that having 3 perspectives is your best chance at liberating yourself. And it's also your best chance at knowing where you're playing yourself. Because if you can't come up with at least 3, then you're just either being stuck or you're being inflexible or you're being righteous. Because there's always this mug don't tell me you can only find 1, 2 ways to shoot. You can't. And if you don't believe it in a moment, get out your phone and photograph anything for 30 seconds from all kinds of angles, and your brain will start to realize how inaccurate it was.
How do people work with you, Robyn, if they want to learn more about getting these 3 perspectives? How can they interact with you?
Cool. So the 2 ways right now is you can come and work with me in a 6-month container. I work one-on-one with people. So robynivy.com/coaching. Or you can just email me, robyn@robynivy.com. That's fine too. And I also just launched something I'm so excited about called The Day, because I realize that we all just need a day. And often we'll say to each other, like, take the day, just take the day. Brittany, take the day. And we mean a lot of different things about that, but we really mean like, hey, it sounds like you need a day, because we understand that if you give yourself a full day to set aside from like everything you're typically doing to actually hunker down and get what you need, it will change your life. And whether that's a day of sleeping as a new mom, or whether that's a day with a coach all day to either like action-wise and strategize what you're wanting to make happen, whether you want to like stop talking about the idea in your head and get it done, or whether you need to like sit in my tree portal and meditate all day and cry a little bit and then soak in my hot tub. These are very real, nourishing things that you might need. So anyway, so you can come and you can spend the day with me. And that's robynivy.com/the day.
I love it. We're going to make sure all of those links are in the show notes. So wherever you're seeing this, that information will be.
Oh, and you can also listen to me on the Robyn Ivy podcast. Something I always forget to tell people.
That was my next question.
Yeah, great.
Let's a little bit about your podcast, because you guys, this is a very special skill set Robyn has. Incredible people on her podcast.
I don't know why that is. It's so weird, but it's the thing. You know what? That's actually the metaphysical training kicking in 30 years later. Yeah, I don't know. I've been so fortunate. I mean, Gay Hendricks, so many cool people have been on the show. Danielle Laporte was on recently, which was super fun. Jonathan Fields of the Good Life Project has been on. Agapi Stassinopoulos has been on. It's amazing. Lots of great, cool people. So it's a podcast. It's really about how to be more present to your life and how to create what's next. It's kind of I would say it lives sort of at the intersection of creativity, mindfulness, and how to craft a better life for yourself.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, Robyn, it has been fun to dive in and talk about coaching, because I don't really get to do that much on this show.
I know. It's fun.
It's so great to see it from your lens and how
they're so lucky to have you, Brittany. These people are so lucky to get to listen to you all the time.
You know, I'm just trying to push the insights through and create those eye-opening moments that change the way that people can show up for themselves in their lives. And I think that
matters.
It does matter, because once you think about that at scale, times 100, times 1,000. If we could all live these more intentional lives, it really does changes the picture for people. So.
Plus, there's nobody at the top of their game. Nobody. I don't care if we're talking about in your marriage or we're talking about the NBA. There's 0 people at the top of their game who don't have the equivalent of a coach in their corner. Whether that's a really great marriage counselor, whether that's an actual NBA coach, whether that's a grandmother like nobody's business, like if you have that in your corner, your life will be different.
That's right. Great. Well, thank you again for joining me. And you guys have all these resources to reach out to Robyn, but if all else fails, you can reach out to me and I will get you connected. Thanks again for joining us today, and see you all soon. Thanks for joining us this week on Eye Openers. Make sure to visit BrittanyDrose.com/podcast for this week's show notes. And if you found value in today's episode, I would so appreciate you giving us a rating on Apple Podcasts or share it with a friend. Also, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. This all helps to support the show.